Okay, welcome to a reading about the coronavirus and again some global guidance as to what this is about and how we need to spiritually deal with the situation. And it's really interesting, the cards that practically flew out of my deck. And the first one that flew out was B. And B is really profound because B stands for awakening. It really stands for an awakening process for purity and light. It is really the enlightenment process. And because the Queen Bee stands for goddess worship and sacred feminine leadership, it really asks us all to look at this situation as the feminine rising into leadership and all of us taking the power of light. It is really about healing the separation wound, the separation from the divine. So healing the core wound and actually seeing that this is an initiation. It is an initiation that allows us to tap into ancient wisdom, to receive the universal initiation, to open us all up to the light and to embody consciously all elements of divine selves. So basically it really asks us to consciously connect to the divine selves of ourselves, and out of ourself heal the separation wound. So make contact with the divine, heal the separation, but also look at where we're being divided, because it's about healing the division, unity of opposites. So this is really showing how the sacred feminine and sacred feminine leadership can, for infinite times, because honey that the bees create stands for immortality, and beehives stand for things like industry and order and politic virtue. So it's like, how can the structures and the products of bees being the sacred feminine and enlightened sacred feminine, how can the sacred feminine leadership be used for, immortality being long-standing results, to heal separation from the divine, to heal and unite places of opposition? And how can we bring through our light body in this physical realm? So it's really asking to make a shift into the next dimension, embody it really. And then how do we do that? So how do we do what B is asking us to do? And that's where eagle is coming in. An eagle represents the divine mind. Eagle is like the power animal. It is the symbol of spirit. It is the symbol of power and freedom and transcendence. It is really the symbol of the highest gods. And so it reflects the spiritual power that we can attain and feel and connect with. And it also asks us to step through spiritual power into authority and utilize the wisdom that we can access through the Supreme Being. Now, this is really reminding us that at the moment there's like a divine war. And it's like our divine and the light beings are warring with dark forces and also within us. So it's really asking us not to allow the dark forces to be stirred in us, which means your light, by connecting with eagle medicine, by connecting with the power of the bee and the eagle, you're really here to break through your fears that are being triggered, break through your hopelessness, your fear, your separation. It's really a place where we're allowing our light to win over the dark forces. Because ego is also the messenger, because ego is taking sacred messengers between creator and ourselves. So ego is taking messages up to creator and brings gifts and visions back to us. So it's like, make that connection, be united. It's really, once we decide to heal that wound of disconnection from the divine and really make connection, ego is bringing us the gifts and the vision. It is really the place of illumination. It is the place of attaining that initiation. So B is telling us that this is a global universal initiation, and ego will represent that we will actually make it through that initiation and we attain it if we follow ego medicine, the advice that the B and the ego is gifting us. But it also reminds us that it's a time to draw a line in the sand, because it is the time where we can no longer be stuck in past hurts, where we can no longer be afraid of creating a new world, new ways of being, new opportunities. It is where we have to basically let go of any old resentment, any old hurts, no matter how long standing they are, because we need to move forward. We need to create a new world, and we cannot as long as we hold on to the wounds of the past. And because ego is such a sacred animal, and it takes us, it allows us to connect to power of spirit and to shift. It is really breaking through the restrictions of the mind so that we're connecting with the divine mind. It is really about soaring to higher consciousness. It is about expanding the sense of self, expanding beyond what we think we know. So it's really taking new vision that is beyond ourself, beyond our human conditioned thinking. It's really allowing the divine mind to enter, and the moment that is gifted us at the moment, because ego needs isolation. Ego needs freedom from the mundane. So in a sense, that curse of at the moment voluntary isolation or involuntary isolation is actually an opportunity for all of us to choose to broadening our perspectives, rather than choosing more mainstream news channels that are all funded by Murdoch or funded by, whether it's the Zuckerberg channels or the Murdoch channels. This is really about broadening our perspective. It's about disconnecting from the fear, from the dark forces, and connecting to the divine. It's broadening our perspective. It's really pioneering a new way. And it's really about breaking through mundane routines to allow this to occur. So right now, ego is bringing us courage and clarity. But Echidna also tells us to be compassionate. It really tells us we need to do this without aggression, but through trust in the self, trust in the process. It's again letting go of past hurts. So Echidna is a very, very ancient animal that is super gentle. And it really asks us to step into forgiveness, which is healing these old wounds that I talked about earlier. And it's really about moving forward with that through compassion and unconditional love. But because Echidna is super ancient, it is a very ancient animal, it talks about ancient secrets and the gifts that sit in ancient cultures, in indigenous cultures, in ancient medicine, in ancient healing, and ancient ceremony. And it's about, so all this is telling us about unity of all of that. No longer the separation, no longer the separation between indigenous cultures and white people, no longer making that distinguish, but actually uniting and listening to ancient secrets, listening to ancient medicine, and also reclaiming the ancient medicine that we've lost and abandoned in the Western world. That came from, some of the ancient cults were the same. It's in our DNA, still encoded. We are reminding ourselves, we are remembering ancient wisdom, which is why a lot of European-based cultures these days are really inspired by global indigenous culture, because we used to be an indigenous culture that followed medicine wheels, that followed ceremony before we gave it all away. So it is the reclaiming and the reawakening of these ancient secrets, of these ancient indigenous secrets that even sit in our white populace DNA, that were all lost through, from Roman times of destruction of Europe, really. So Echidna is really asking us to allow indigenous cultures of the world today to reawaken all the ancient secrets, all the ancient knowledge that is still available and accessible in everyone's DNA around the whole world. So it's really about connecting to Great Spirit, utilizing the medicine of ancient cultures and ancient wisdom, and really honoring the processes of indigenous cultures around the world to reawaken your inner memory of that and living a sacred pathway. It is about protecting yourself energetically and emotionally, because on these lower energies that I talked about before, the dark forces are trying to attack you and pull you down into the dark forces. But Echidna reminds you to maintain more faith and to do the humanitarian work. So Bee, Eagle, and Echidna are working really strongly at the moment with you, and call in their medicine, because it's a profound time in which you embody consciously elements of your divine self. It is a time where you need to really take courage to gain the clarity and utilize the isolation as Eagle would in a positive, to really break through limited thinking and know how you can create new opportunities that you have not been able to see before, that break through the limitation of the fear-minded lower energies, but also know how to protect yourself energetically. So this is really about bringing through that sacred feminine leadership for the long term, into industry, into politics, into daily life. And it's about working together. But for that, you need to take that power that can sit in isolation. So don't waste your time buying into fear, because you're here to rise through the fear, step into the light, and create your new world.